Hey, how's it going? It is July 13th and it is the 31st day of the Touch 10 plan. Yesterday, I was so sick last night that I was unable. I made a solid attempt, but I was completely unable to make a functional video about day 30 and do a debriefing of the 10 days that consumed the rest of the first month. I can't believe that 30 days have now gone by. And wow, what I've come across in my data and just realizations in the last 10 days is pretty amazing. I am pretty sick though. I have a really bad cold. You could probably hear it. And so my mind is not working as quickly as it normally would. However, I still just came to a realization because I was thinking to myself, how am I going to get anything done today? I feel horribly, and I already am missing an important event tonight that I was going to go to, and when I get like this, I feel very trapped because I know I need to take care of myself and get better, because if I just keep pushing, I'm not going to put out quality work. I'm not going to be pleased with any results, and I'm going to just get worse. And at the same time, when I pause entirely, it feels like I'm putting such a halt on things. And when I have to, push my health into the center of attention and focus, which it's always number one, but when lately I've been doing pretty well, so it's been number one, but I've been able to push my work stuff, that's a priority right now, a little forward, and I feel like my whole universe has to halt. And the reality is that the rest of the universe, of the world, with the rest of all of you in real life, are moving on. And it makes me feel behind. And it makes me feel anxious and stressed. And, it definitely doesn't help that I can't practice my Tai Chi Qigong, my exercise in general. I can't do any of the things that I normally would do. And it puts me in a funk. And it just wasn't ideal timing that I chose to take a risk for 7 of the 10 days and go into this theme quest. So yesterday did not go as planned, although I got to meet with a potential roommate, which could relieve a lot of stresses and things, and so that was really productive. But yesterday did not go as I wanted it to. Let's talk about that debriefing. So the last 10 days, first 3 days started off really strong. I was in a major creative flow. Wrote a great song, came up with a bunch of really cool ideas. I was just spitfiring them off, and I thought, not for nothing, if things are going so well and I want to take things to the next level, I need to take a risk and try something that might really not work. So I thought of the theme days. I thought, let's go macro and think about one day each for the 7 days dedicated towards something I really want to be working on, and then breaking it down. The touches being a little more micro, but still reaching that macro perspective. It seemed like it could work. I mean, I didn't think that focusing on something for a full day was necessarily going to be easy, but excuse me, I thought that things would, at least at the end of the day, turn out really well, because I felt like maybe I would feel really productive if it worked, and I looked at my day of 10 touches towards one goal. So say I had Tai Chi day, 10 touches dealing with Tai Chi, and if I could accomplish all of them, at the end of the day, I thought, I'll feel amazing because I'll get to see how much I really accomplished on one thing, and I feel like I'll make giant leaps forward, as opposed to every day where I accomplish different touches of all different perspectives and all different goals, and then I proceed forward. Yeah, that was hard. It didn't go very well because it sort of made me feel stuck, unfocused. The first couple of days I were the emergency prep day and the Tai Chi day, and I think because of the passion and the urgency and where things were aligning, it really worked out pretty well. I was surprised at how well it was going. I got all the emergency prep stuff that I wanted to get done except for like one plan, and Tai Chi Day, got my Tai Chi Qigong certification, so that was ultimately a major leap forward. But then things started to scale down with Tranibus Day and Creativity Day, and Cleaning Day was supposed to be yesterday, and the things that were the self-care day. And it started to scale back, and as I started to get only 5 touches done as opposed to 10 touches done, I was panicking because I felt a lot less productive and was getting down on myself. And so when I went to therapy, or rather this week I had a phone session for therapy because of how sick I was feeling. My therapist afterwards, when we do scaling, we scale out these like 5 or 6 different emotions that we decided a while ago together. We were going to scale at the beginning of every session to see sort of how I was feeling in relation to what actually was happening, and so we could have a dialogue. And he said, your scaling went up basically across the board, except for, my happiness was higher initially, but so was everything else. My stress and my anxiety and all these other things escalated because I tried this new plan. But as we talked about, it was something risky. And when I was at my healing session earlier in the week, it was really, really productive, and something, she said something to me that was really, really impactful, which was, she sort of thought that this whole theme plan really wasn't going to work for me, and she understood why I was trying it, but she was like, you're a multi-perspective person. You're able to think and keep track of multiple perspectives at the same time. You're a great multitasker, and so you're able to go on different things, and it looks scattered to other people, but to you it's hyper focused, and you can work on something for 5 to 20 minutes, but it'll be super productive. Then you go on to the next thing, and eventually it's all done. And that really resonated with me. And then she told me the story of this parent, and they had a child that was like 11, diagnosed with ADHD. The parent was trying to force the kid to do their homework the way that they wanted it to get done, and so the kid wasn't doing as well in school, and they weren't as happy, and they were fighting them on it, stressing out the parent. Eventually, my healer says, why don't you just take one day, just give him a chance and see how he wants to do his homework, see what happens. Of course, things drastically changed. Kids started to do much better at school, was much happier, got all their homework done, doing it their way. And it was, because they could hold on to these multiple perspectives. And other than my friend and mentor, Noam, I have never felt so validated and seen in my way of thinking as in this healing session. I was just like, oh my God, that's me. Yeah, like why do I need to do things the way that my mom always tried to make me do them, or the different teachers in the learning center, or teachers in general, or whatever it was, bosses, however they wanted me to accomplish something. It doesn't really matter how you get to the goal as long as the end result is there, right? That's really what matters. So I should just be able to do all the things I want to do. And it just has been bringing me into this hyper focus into ownership and realizing how I have felt very trapped and not like I've owned large pieces of my life. And I kind of thought, well, once I started transitioning and started to work on my health, this is me taking ownership. I'm going to feel so much better, not as trapped. But I realized actually that I wasn't really getting to take as much ownership as I wanted, and I was still getting fought on it, and I was still second guessing because I was trained to second guess my thoughts all the time. That my first thought, my first reaction was wrong. That my impulsivity was incorrect. That my ways of going about things I was pushed into this super concentrated, organized methodology. That's just one way of thinking. And I just kept failing and failing and failing and failing, or I was, excelling in certain ways and failing in others, and I've had it. So I think that even though these 10 days were, I was getting half the touches done on most of those days, and I tried out this risky concept of themes, and it didn't work well, and I ended up with more depression and dysphoria and all these things. I had major realizations that have helped me really to feel empowered and be validated and to feel seen not just by myself but by other people who I really respect and trust and feel like they really get me, and it makes me feel like I'm making the larger goal of authentic happiness, hitting the purpose, the people, and spreading love with the gratitude. I'm really hitting all of those things, and I'm really making big changes, and that's why all my scaling increased. Even though my depression, my dysphoria, and my anxiety, and my stress, and all these things got higher, my happiness was still higher. We scale on happiness because that's what my goal is, to obtain. I realized that I felt trapped and that I didn't feel as happy as I feel I truly deserve and can obtain. And I realized that if I'm not happy and I'm not my best self, then I can't be my best self for others. So we can look at this, these past 10 days as, it failed within the realm of touches, and I didn't get certain projects done and creative things I really wanted to work on and all these things, but I truly took major leaps forward. I mean, I'm 30. I've spent most of my life in therapy and trying to tease out the trauma and get past things. And I realized that I was talking so much about the trauma, but I really wasn't moving past it. I felt like I was trapped all the time, and now I don't feel as trapped. I feel like I'm really taking ownership, like I am actually making my decisions, like I am actually choosing how I want to spend my time, what matters to me, that I'm finding myself. It's self-discovery revamped in a whole new way. And so when I think about where I was, before I started, now 31 days ago, but touching from, the 30 days, I'm drastically happier. I can prove it. I can prove that the Touch 10 plan is working. I can prove that I know now what's been working so far and what hasn't been working. And when I think about where I need to go forward, how do I want to approach the next 10 days? Days 31 to, 31 to 41. How do I want to approach those days? I think to myself, I don't need to decide a plan on full 10 days ahead when I'm really sick right now. I need to be taking care of myself, and so I need to be thinking more micro. What I realized, I think, also within these 10 days was that what causes a lot of stress and anxiety for me is feeling like I have so many passions, so many goals, so much purpose, and that I have my hands dipped into these things, but I don't want to do them halfway. Simultaneously, I'm freaking out that I'm not getting any of them accomplished, or that maybe I'm not moving forward enough. To what standards, though, right? Like, what standards am I actually setting? Whose standards am I living by? And I think what stresses me out is that I have all of these major goals, and how do I accomplish them? I'm thinking super, super macro. And I think that I need to just trust myself and know intuitively that I can trust my heart, that I am focused on the right things now, that I am grabbing ownership, that I'm making all these changes that I wasn't before. So all these things I was worried about before and causing anxiety on a macro level, or worried that I wasn't thinking macro enough, because that's what was taught to me, that I wasn't thinking macro enough in an organized fashion, that I'm always thinking macro enough, because I'm focused on this purpose, being productive, people, spreading love, gratitude, feeling it and living in it. And by doing all of those things, I'm always going to be thinking on that macro level. So I don't need to always think macro. And by thinking macro, obsessing macro, and even by doing touches on a super macro level, super focused like that, of course it's going to cause all of this anxiety, because it's like, oh my god, what am I supposed to be working on right now? And it's just creating so much anxiety, as opposed to just allowing a flow, a natural flow and progression of things, and trusting that things are just going to happen as they're going to happen, and that I'm truly just doing my best. Who am I really competing with out there? I remember when I left culinary school, even when I got into culinary school, I got into the 3 top culinary schools in the country. And when I did that, there was someone who I thought I had a friendship with who was hating on me and just spreading all this negativity, and I allowed them to convince me, like, my getting into those schools and choosing to go to culinary school is a cop-out. Basically, she was saying that that I didn't get into college, and that I wasn't going to college, to university, that I wasn't making this progress, and basically that she was better than me because she was going to, probably an Ivy League, or I don't remember where she ended up, but it was all of this work that I had done to get into this culinary school. It was a huge achievement, and suddenly I let this one person just talk me into this negative dark hole, like I wasn't worth it. And that's just been a constant cycle and theme in my life, and I'm not going to allow that to happen anymore, because it's not making me happy. And I've constantly tried these different methodologies of going about life based on how other people wanted me to, and it didn't work. It doesn't work for me, and that's okay. So I'm now doing the Touch 10 plan. I'm figuring out my plan, what works for me. So I think I went super macro and tried to go a little micro within that macro thinking. It was still too much. Now I'm sick. Probably because of stress, probably because I wasn't careful enough about hygiene at these different cannabis events where, we're all sharing these different joints and things like that. I tend to lose sight of those things. And so I have this cold now. And what am I going to do about it? Am I going to continue to push myself, make myself worse, so that ultimately, for the long game, I'm failing? Am I going to fail myself in the short game by not being responsible and taking care of myself and my needs in order to get myself healthier again? No, I'm not going to do it. I am going to do the polar opposite, and I'm going to start thinking super, super micro until I'm better. At that point, then I can go and figure out what the rest of my 10 days are going to look like. Right now, until my health is starting to improve, because it's only been getting worse, I'm going to be thinking micro. So I let myself sleep in. And I'm going to go as micro as thinking about what are the specific things that I need on day 31 in order to beat this cold. That's the number one goal right now, is to beat this cold. There's nothing else that matters until that happens. Nothing else can happen until I've done that right. So what are the things I need to accomplish on a micro level to get myself better? It's 5:24 right now. I have a lot of social media that I need to accomplish, and that's really the only work thing I think that I'm going to accomplish today. So, what are the things in the rest of the day that I can do to take care of myself? I let myself sleep in. I did my morning routine other than my exercise. And I've, been drinking tea and trying to do other things. I showered. So what are the other things that I can do? And, even if it's as much as going to the touches, and I had a filled roster of touches today, and I'm probably only going to get like 2 or 3 of them done. I'm going to move those to another day, maybe put them on to Monday or Tuesday, assume that by then I'll be much better, because I'm going to take care of myself, and, empty those out, and just for the rest of the day, okay, what are things I need to be doing? Well, I need to medicate. I need to be taking my other meds. I need to make some tea. I need to maybe ice and heat again because I'm really sore, and I've already done that once today. Different things that are very micro things that are very little, things that don't take a lot of time, things that don't take a lot of effort and energy, but that ultimately are feeding me, right? They're feeding my chi, they're restoring my energy, my health. It's becoming focus number 1. And by getting these little micro things done, I'll be able to cross off touches and still feel like I had a productive day towards the greater goal of authentic happiness. Hitting, again, the purpose for productivity and fulfilling purpose for people, connecting with people, spreading that love, and finding and feeling that gratitude. I think I'm on to something big. I feel like I'm on to something good. This has been an amazing experience so far. I am 1/3 of the way officially into the Touch 10 plan. 90 days, and I can't wait to see what happens next.